Subscribe to Film Companion for your film fix. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.
Hey everyone, welcome to Chat Masala. I'm Anupama Chopra.
And I'm Baradwaj Rangan.
And Chat Masala is a new show that we have begun in which we're going to do exactly that, chat about entertainment, about movies with a little bit of masala. Right, Baddy?
Right, that's what we're going to do.
So, Baddy, if this was still a non-corona world, you and I would have been in Cannes at this moment. And I realized that that is a very, very small thing given the tragedy that's unfolding globally. But for us, Cannes addicts, it's a May without Cannes is just feels somehow wrong. Tell me, what's your favorite memory of the festival?
I think I have several memories of the festival. My favorite memory of the festival is when I went there the year before last, and because they have these grades of badges which are based on colors, and
Right.
Since I had ascended to a certain color, I thought I would either be at the same color or the next upper color, right? Which is kind of a thing. And then I went there and I showed my badge, and then I had been downgraded, and I was like, just happened, like I not write well? Was I not intensive enough in covering? How the hell can this happen? And then they had this long explanation, but that is a moment that I will forever associate with Cannes because it's a great humbler. Everyone keeps telling you all these nice things about, oh, it's such a great review and this and that and all that, and then you go to Cannes and you're like, dude, doesn't matter what you are back home. This is what you are for us, and that's actually quite necessary at times, I think. And I think only Cannes can do that to everyone, right? So that's my favorite memory from Cannes.
Oh my God! It is that badge color system is it is the great leveler. I mean, no, I've been demoted. Then there's certain years where you are promoted, and then you're so chuffed, and then you don't know what you did.
What you did, yeah. So it's like this mysterious, the Wizard of Oz kind of thing, somebody hiding behind a curtain and just like working magic on all journalists and saying, you go up, you go down, so it's kind of a thing. But I just want to add one thing, Anu, is that like you said, the fact that there is no what is May without Cannes and things like that, it just seems like a very small thing in the middle of what is happening. But I don't think we should allow ourselves not to feel happiness about the small things, as long as we have perspective about the bigger things, is something that I feel. That's just wanted to put it out there. Yeah.
I have to tell you my favorite memory, and it's the most ridiculous thing that I've ever sort of experienced is I think it was 2008. So I was a reporter then with NDTV 24/7, and that year they invited me to be on the jury of Un Certain Regard. So I was doing jury duty as well as reporting on the festival, and which was completely nuts. And as you keep going to Cannes, you learn that you have to pace yourself out, you have to keep yourself hydrated, you keep the fruits, you keep eating. But at that point, I was just so giddy with the excitement of being on the jury and being a journalist. And so, of course, there was no food going in. Water was like, who cares? It was just, how much can I cram into the day? And then, Baddy, you're not going to believe this. So because I was part of the jury, you would get invited to these, to the red carpet screenings every evening, right? And it was one of the Indiana Jones movies that premiered at Cannes that year. I can't remember which one it was.
The Crystal Skull.
It was the Crystal Skull, and there was this, big blowout red carpet with Spielberg and all these people, and I was in this massive anarkali outfit, okay. And so Vinod was with me, and we were there, and we saw the film, and then I got up and sort of passed out into my chair. Okay, just fainted flat right there. And so Vinod looked at me and he was like, it wasn't so bad. Yeah, the movie, it was so funny. Okay, and it doesn't end there. All right, so all the sort of the guests kind of exited the hall, and I just couldn't walk because I was sick, and they had called the paramedics in, and now I'm on a wheelchair in this fancy outfit, right? But I still have to do a last piece to camera for my show because the crew was leaving that night. So I told the
Yes.
paramedics to hold on for 5 minutes while while I did this piece to camera saying something, something, something about can and pretending that I'm completely fine. And the wheelchair was hidden because that damn anarkali was so massive that like you couldn't see that I was sitting on a wheelchair. It was really theater of the absurd and only in
Oh
Cannes.
my God.
Yeah, it was as
Yeah.
filmy as it comes. But from that experience,
Yeah.
I learned that you need to hydrate, you need to eat, and you need to pace yourself up.
Yeah, and it's difficult there because it's among all the other festivals they actually confiscate your water, and
Woo!
you have to kind of yeah, they don't let you take water inside, and
Yeah,
unlike Berlin where you can take sandwiches inside, this is kind of a huge change of what kind of festival they examine your bags and this and that, and yeah, but it's I think what it really does is by virtue of being the world's biggest film market, I think more than the festival, I am upset about the film market being closed because it just means that so many worthwhile films will not be that will not be able to play through the traditional channels, will not be able to be screened to that many prospective buyers, though they're doing it online.
they
But
are
there's
doing it
still
online.
watching it on a screen is still something different, where it's like, the effect is different. And well, like imagine Began's a long day's journey to night, where half the film is in 3D, right? How can you replicate that experience in on an online screening? So I feel most because the festival, more than the glamorous stuff, it's really
Correct.
about helping films find audiences. That's the real purpose. Helping artistically minded films, to use a loose term, as like, which doesn't mean that the other kind of film is not artistic, but what I mean is a specifically art house kind of film find its audience. And when that market, the world's biggest, kind of is not there, it makes you feel a little bad that all these people who kind of depended on Can to kind of find buyers, you kind of thing. And this is something that I keep, that's something that keeps coming back to mind. Yeah.
So this is the thing, Baddy, because of course, right now we are kind of talking about Cannes, but Locarno in August has been cancelled.
Yeah.
The other festivals, Telluride, Venice, Toronto, are right now saying that there will be some version. We don't know what version, but it's really
Yeah.
brought into sharp focus the importance of festivals, which was just being debated like a year ago. That what's the point? We can see everything online. Why does the world
Yeah.
need to gather anywhere? But that's exactly why the world needs to gather, because you see these films, you see them play out in an audience.
Yeah.
They find buyers, they find reviewers, they find audiences. And I don't know how this is going to pan out. Many festivals are sort of struggling now with how do you do an online version, how do you replicate the buzz, how do you
Yeah.
replicate that experience of walking out of
Yeah.
the theater and having a conversation, or standing in those damn lines for 3 hours and chatting about films.
Films. Yeah. And I'll tell you even another thing. As an Indian film viewer, the high that you get, like last year when I went to Venice and I saw uh, the buzz around Bombay Rose while I was watching it, or the buzz around Sanal's Chola while it was being screened there, you just feel so goddamn proud. It's like that there is at least some section of Indian filmmakers that's making these movies that are speaking to a global. While I always maintain that there is nothing wrong in making movies for local audiences, and that's what most of the world does. But to find filmmakers like Gitanjali Rao and Sanal Kumar Sasidaran working with specifically Indian content, that nonetheless crosses over and becomes huge, and not just because, hey, all that glamour and all that
Right.
color. It's not just that. There's
It's not
actually,
exotic, yeah.
it's not exotic. It's not like, what is that, Pride and Prejudice? It's not Pride and Prejudice. So it's that's wonderful. And when you go there, you learn how people look at your films, you learn how interesting it is to talk to a non-Indian viewer about Indian cinema, because their lens is so different. So you actually, it's brilliant. And when you're watching it alone at home, you're still getting the movie, but you're not getting that perspective, that lens, because you're not meeting these people directly, outside the theater or after the movie or whatever it is.
So tell me, Batty, because that's one of the things that, I've been talking to people within the film industry, and of course um, there's panic. I mean, frankly, there's panic. We
Yeah,
don't know when the theaters are going to come back. There are too many films that were, as it is, the Fridays were too few. Now there'll
yeah,
be backup of Fridays. There is also a massive concern that even when films do release, for the mid-budget films, our audience is going to risk anything to come back into theaters. Given this environment and the fact that now you may not have festivals for the foreseeable future, what happens to that mid-level film? What happens to that more signature storytelling?
I definitely think that that's where Amazon and Netflix are stepping in. I think that they will have to be the nurturers of a certain kind of film, because I genuinely do not see. I'm sorry if you think I'm a pessimist, but I genuinely do not see people venturing out to see uh, a mid-level film. Let's even take a Thappad, right? It's like once you know that a film can be watched uh, with fairly the same intensity even at home, as opposed to like a Bahubali or an Avatar or a James Bond film, which demands the big screen. I think people are just going to say, let's just reduce the theatrical window and give it to us as soon as possible, so that we can make people will watch it, because there is an audience for it out there. But there are a lot of people who would have been the audience before the times of OTT or even DVD or whatever it is, have just decided that they're going to wait for these films to come to them. Because there are enough, we are no longer in a world, for the longest time, we have no longer been in the world where films are the only mode of entertainment. So it's not like they're dying if they don't see, like this mid-level movie in its first or second week. They can watch all the other things that they want. And when this lands up, they just make a note and watch it then. What is your estimation of it?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because it's first of all, to go see a film, as much as we love the movies, and as much as we love the theatrical experience, the truth is, if there's any risk in terms of health, uh, how many of us are really going to be willing to take that risk? And maybe people will be willing to take it for the 83s and for the Suryavanshis. But you're right, for Thappad, many people will just say, well, we'll wait when it comes on
Yeah.
online. And I just wonder what that does. Does that sort of accentuate the kind of the sort of separation of, okay, only this kind of movie, only the event movie goes into a theater, and everything else is then online? And what do we lose as moviegoers because of that?
I don't think we lose anything as moviegoers, because at one point changes everything, right? We cannot help that.
Yep.
Just like television came and changed a whole bunch of stuff, where today it's just not possible to take a random example of an 80s kind of movie that was like a super hit, Ghar Ghar Ki Kahani, where you had this typical family melodrama kind of stuff. It's not possible to do that now, because that's playing on your television right now, and that changed. So are we saying now that it's not possible to do Ghar Ghar Ki Kahani, and kind of it's changed? Some things, the trends change, things are swept away, some things are brought in, and some things go away. And I think that's what it is that we're seeing out here with this change that's happening. Uh, I think though the advantage will be that some stars and directors will truly get a different kind of online fame that they would not have managed in theaters, which is going to work to their advantage. For example, I think if you think that X is a mid-level star in mid-level movies, I think X will become a superstar in OTT, simply because his or her films are doing really well with the audience that would typically kind of do well. So I think that is also going to help a lot of careers bloom, because right now everybody is saying, in order to make a mark in the movies, I need to fight with 83 and Suryavanshi. And now a lot of people are going to realize that I don't have to do that. I can have a very good career, a very respectable career, a very financially successful career, despite the fact that I do not have to compete with these films. So, of course, my stardom may not be, my red carpet stardom may not equal that of those other films. But in terms of many other aspects, which is why presumably people came to want to make movies, which is basically to tell stories and tell them well, they will be able to tell stories in a much more uncompromised manner, because they don't have to say, "Yahan pe item number dalo, yahan pe wo karo,
Sure.
yahan pe wo karo, the audience wants this." We have to have an interval. We could see the abolishment of the interval, for instance. We don't need to see 2 hour movies. We can see 1.5 hour movies. I think a whole range of storytelling possibilities is going to be opened up simply because of this paradigm shift in how the entertainment system works.
Yeah, yeah. My concern is that I hope they don't get squeezed out. In fact, they flourish more, rather than just sort of being marginalized in any way.
Yeah.
And I really hope we figure out a way, until the elusive vaccine comes, we figure out a way to replicate some percentage of the festival experience online. I know it's very hard. I mean, I remember last year, Baddy, you and me waiting in that endless line for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Do you remember that?
Yeah. It's like every time somebody got in, because they were letting people in batches after knowing how many seats were left, it was like a war whoop. People are just saying, people were turning and basically screaming to the audience, like it's almost like, yes, I got an Oscar. It was like, yes, I got in.
Yeah, you were like,
It was
yeah.
that, yes, I finally got in. So it was like, so I was one of the last few to squeeze in, and man, my heart was thumping. It was, but again, that excitement of being one of the first in the world to watch a movie and review it, I don't know if I would miss it with Once Upon a Time in America as much as I would with these other kind of films that typically don't get much traction until people write about them. For
Sure.
example, if Once Upon a Time in America
In
in
Hollywood.
Hollywood was playing, and and let's say Bombay Rose was playing, in the same time slot, I would any day pick Bombay Rose, because to report about such a festival, such a film from such a festival, and be the first to kind of give the good buzz about it, I think that's what you really, want to be doing.
Yeah.
As much as you'd hate to kind of miss the other thing, in an ideal world you'd see everything, but then if you can't, because I think that's when you miss out the buzz that you can bring to a good film, and that needs critics, as opposed to an 83 or a Suryavanshi that doesn't really need critics.
They don't need us, Baddy. They
Yeah,
don't need us.
yeah, we don't. Yeah, they probably, maybe a few people will just say, okay, what has X written, what has Y written, maybe just out of curiosity. But to actually drive people to theaters will be the least important cog in the wheel. But with these other films, you pretty much are the most important driver of audiences towards these. So I think that's what we're going to miss out, because being in a festival and being able to report, and also these, when the excitement comes that X film has been selected for a festival, it just means so much that they're going to fly from here, they're going to represent India on at the festival, as opposed to they're going to represent India on a television screen somewhere.
Correct.
It doesn't seem
No.
the same. It doesn't have the same buzz. It doesn't have, you and I have both interviewed people like Manoj Bajpayee or whatever it is. You've interviewed so many people out there in Cannes, by sitting there, and the whole vibe changes, because they're so relaxed, they're so happy. It's not like they have to promote a movie, they're selling something. I think I interviewed Manoj Bajpayee when he was promoting Bhosle, if I'm not mistaken. It had come there and they were just trying to promote the film, and it was so nice, so relaxed to kind of have their interview there, because they were not aggressively pushing something, they were just relaxed. All those opportunities to try up for actors of their caliber, that I think is a little sad if it does happen, but then you learn to roll with it. But tell me, Anu, I've always been curious about this aspect of Cannes, which you pull off so effortlessly every year, which is to go to the likes of Deepika Padukone and Sonam Kapoor and and talk to them about, your what are you wearing and your, this and that.
Who are you
How do
wearing?
you do that?
Who are you wearing?
Who are you wearing? Yes. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, in the sense that there's like, remember one time that you thought that you would not be able to make it, and you said, Buddy, will you be able to do this? And my heart just sank like a stone, because I was going to ask, questions like, how do you fit these big dresses into your suitcase and things like that? I was like, what do I ask them? But luckily, you turned up and, you saved the day. But tell me, how do you manage?
So, Barry, I always try and see. So I understand that that red carpet is a massive part of the interest out of India. Okay, because
Yes.
most of these
Yeah.
films now, maybe they'll come on movie, or they'll come to
Yeah.
Mummy. But for a lot of the general janta, they're never going to see these movies, right? So
Yeah.
so for them, it's like, oh my God, what was she wearing? I remember one year when Aishwarya had purple lipstick on, and the internet went into a meltdown. And so it was very funny, because we had this conversation about her experience, and she's been going for some 15, 17 years now, what she gets out of it. But then you have to talk about the lipstick. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the sort
Yeah,
of,
and it comes through. It comes through that you enjoy it, because it's
yeah.
so unforced, and it's like you're having a real vibe there. So
No, I really love it, because I think it's all part of that cocktail of Cannes. The fact that you
yeah,
can
yeah,
have the most artistic and the best films in the world alongside a market where people are doing dhanda. Matlab, they are like literally out there selling, and it's like
yeah,
hardcore
yeah,
business. Matlab, it's full on business. Plus, you have this next level glamour, which is next to the Met Gala. There's no other, sort of fashion event like this, in a sense. Even the Oscars are not fashion in the way that this carpet is. And
yeah.
it's bewildering for me. The biggest stress is, what the hell am I going to wear? Because I have no clue about fashion. so so my whole life is spent in trying to put together something that's comfortable, and the shoes especially, oh my God, it kills me to run around all day. And of course the crew is lugging those cameras and all the rest of it. But
Yeah,
it's great
yeah,
fun, and I really do miss it, because I think every year it also, Barry, in a sense, opens up our heads to different ways of storytelling. Completely,
yeah, yeah,
completely sort of something else. And the sort of beauty of Can is also just bumping into people, right? So like,
yeah, yeah,
walking down the street and you'll meet somebody, strike a conversation. Of
yeah,
course, you can fully do the stargazing, in
yeah.
the lobbies where all these glamorous women are walking up and down. It's just, I love the kind of fact that it's not one thing.
And I think for people like us, it's also interesting because we get to deal with artistic films, mainstream films back here, and we get to kind of analyze everything. Whereas I think they just get one kind of film throughout the year. And I don't know about you, but at least I might get a little brain fried if I kept seeing Apichatpong Virasaktakul movies throughout the year. And it's like,
No.
I don't know.
I need my Bollywood. I need my masala. I need song and
Yeah,
dance. I love it. I love it.
yeah. I mean, like we need to, our zeros and other films that kind of we
Yes,
love. So
yes, indeed. I always say that festivals allow you to believe that for just that moment in time, for those 5 days, 7 days, all that matters is the movies. It
yeah,
feels like
yeah,
that. No, when you're in Cannes, it feels like there's nothing else in this world except for cinema. And it's
yeah,
such a
yeah, yeah.
wonderful feeling. It's such a wonderful feeling.
It is, and just like we said by starting out this conversation, just doesn't feel right to have a year without Can. But then, what can you do? You've got this pandemic that everyone is fighting, and hopefully, just like every other industry, cinema and film festivals will fight their way out of this as well.
Absolutely, Barry. Thank you so much. And we will reconnect on the next episode of Chat Masala.
Yes, always a pleasure chatting with you, Anu, and with Masala. Thank you.